Good afternoon. Welcome back, Mizzou fans. Gabe DeArmond here with PowerMizzou.com. It is Wednesday afternoon. Well, I don't know when it is when you're watching this, but it's Wednesday afternoon when I'm recording it. That is when we preview Missouri's opponent for the upcoming week. Before we get to a little Mississippi State talk, we want to remind you that all of our pregame and postgame shows this year brought to you by America's oldest brewery. That is Yuengling. Look, I have proof this is working. I talked to somebody who heard about Yuengling's Black and Tan on our post-game show last week, went out and got some, thoroughly enjoyed it. So whether it's the Black and Tan, the lager, the flight, whatever you want, it's a night game on Saturday. You can't drink Yuengling all day if you don't start in the morning. So whatever you do, pick some up on your way to Faurot Field on Saturday for Senior Day and the home finale against the Mississippi State Bulldogs. And to preview Mississippi State, this week, we're talking with Steve Robertson from Gene's Page. They cover Mississippi State for 24/7 Sports. Steve, what's going on, man? How are you?
Man, we're doing great. Looking forward to a trip to Como and to see some of my friends up there, but also to get some great pizza and hopefully see a great ball game.
Yeah, it's been, I guess Mississippi State played up here in the COVID season, and nobody went to that game. And then they played here in 2015, I think, was the last time when Dak Prescott was quarterback. Am I missing anything in there?
Yeah, well, that was our last trip to Como. The 2020 game was in Starkville.
Was it?
Surprisingly, State won that game. Missouri had a really good team that year, but it's just interesting that we're in the same conference and we only get to visit each other so rare. It's just a rarity that we get a chance. We were there for baseball this spring, and then we come back for football, and then now we don't do baseball. And, basketball is interesting too. It just seems like for one reason or another, we don't get together enough, even though we're in the same league.
Yeah, hey, when you pack 40 teams into two conferences or whatever it is, that's how it goes, right? So we're talking 6:45 kickoff at Faurot Field, and Mississippi State comes in needing a win either over Missouri or over Ole Miss to get to a bowl game. But the big question I know that surrounding Mississippi State is what's Blake Shapen's situation. I saw you guys reported this week that Jeff Levy basically said if he's healthy, he'll play, which I think we probably knew, but he didn't practice on Monday. So what's the story with the starting quarterback?
I suspect when the availability report comes out tonight, he'll be questionable. I know he'll want to play. I mean, Blake's a tougher guy, but you've got the open date next week before the rivalry game. I will not be the least bit surprised if Camario Taylor starts this game. They both could play, but I think Camario, number one, has kind of been ramping up in recent weeks as, Shapen gets put through concussion protocol in game against Arkansas, gets knocked out of the game against Georgia, and then immediately the offense just kind of takes off with Camario behind center. So fans are kind of clamoring for the future to begin now. And I think possibly this may be a better matchup for Camario than to Blake because, dealing with that pass rush and those ends, and I think adding another runner to the run game might make this game a little bit more competitive for Mississippi State. So I think if you're Jeff Levitt, you've got to consider that aspect of it too. Who is the better matchup for this opponent? And I think it's probably Camario.
Yeah, Camario Taylor, actually a kid that I know Missouri recruited before he went to Mississippi State. Like, how big is the difference in the offense he's going to run if it's Shapen versus Taylor?
It's the same system, but the play calling's a lot different, right? Because you do some quarterback run with Shapen, but I don't think there's an opponent out there that is like scripting that as part of their game plan. I don't think that's going to be one of their three talking points. You got to stop Shapen as a runner. He runs enough to keep you honest. Taylor runs enough to kind of keep you bruised up a little bit. It's a proponent of the offense when Camario's in the game. And listen, we've covered him all through high school. He is one of the better quarterback prospects this state has ever produced. And the thing that I talked about last year when I went and saw him play, in pregame, he's just one of the dudes, right? He's dancing around and having fun with his guys. But then when he walks out of that locker room with that number one jersey on and he takes the field, he's all business. And the thing about him that has always maybe impressed me is that the kids around him wanted to play hard for him. Like they didn't want to disappoint him because they knew how hard he played and how talented he was. Unfortunately for him, he didn't win a state championship last year. They did play for it. but he is a guy that his uncle Omar Connor was the starting quarterback at Mississippi State in the Sylvester Croom years. A lot of connections to the program, so he's a guy that Bulldog fans have kind of watched grow up, and they were like, "We got to get this kid." Well, he commits very early, and now people are just ready to see him take the majority of the snaps. And that's really nothing against Blake Shapen. It's just that people are ready for State to be able to kind of get back to how it was when Dak Prescott was here, where you feel like you've got the superior quarterback on the field.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, hey, the best thing to help any quarterback, any young quarterback, is a good running game. Mississippi State's has been, not statistically dominant, but I mean, Devon Booth and one of the best names in college football, Fluff Bothwell, have combined for 1,045 yards. So, tell me about those guys. And like, I mean, it's got to be fun covering a kid named Fluff, right?
It is, especially because there's nothing fluffy about him. It's just. And his mom said she gave him a nickname because he was Mama's fluffy baby. And then she called him Fluffy for years. And then his dad's like, "We're going to drop the Y. He's not going to be Fluffy anymore. He's just going to be Fluff." And he had emerged as Mississippi State's primary back until the Texas A&M game. And of course, the people in the conference know he was carted off the field and missed some time. He's still not quite 100%, but he wants to play, and they say he shouldn't aggravate the injury, so he's going to play. But Booth's a guy they didn't expect to have, but because of the Pavia ruling, to get another year for him. So State was optimistic about the run game, and I think it makes things a little bit better with Camario because of the fact I think those guys will probably have greater success running the football because you have to account for the quarterback now.
Mm-hmm. What is, I mean, okay, obviously Fluff's a nickname. What's his real name?
Yeah, if you would, I knew you were going to ask me that, and I wasn't prepared for it because when we first had him as a recruit years ago, nobody knew that he was Fluff. But he's been Fluff in the 247 system now, I think, since he was a senior in high school. So I'd have to go look it up for you, but it's something a little more exotic than Fluff. So.
Okay. I mean, overall, this offense, look, they've put up points. I mean, 34 in the loss to Tennessee, 35 in the loss to Tech, or 38 in the loss to Texas, 38 in the win over Arkansas. I mean, everybody knows Levy's system is going to put up points. What do they do well, and what do you think maybe the weakness there is?
Well, they put you on an island outside the numbers. I mean, the splits are much different. That was the thing everybody talked about with Leach and the air raid, and the splits were different. Well, the splits are a lot different too because they want to make those plays outside. They want to put you in space and make you tackle in space. And then when you start cheating up for that, then all of a sudden they're not running the bubble. Somebody slips out and they run. They run the fade outside the numbers, and that's a play that's kind of been a staple with Brennan Thompson. He's one of the fastest guys in college football. If he gets a good release, it's just a matter of the pass is going to be on target because he is going to outrun everybody. So that's been, I think, the big thing that's been great about this is when they've been able to dial up shots and connect, the offense has been very, very prolific. The flip side of it is when they can't run the football and get a little bit predictable, then all of a sudden people can kind of pin their ears back, kind of get after Shapen. I think the sack numbers are more than what everybody anticipated. And some of that's got to do with Albert Reese. He's a guy that's, the best lineman in the state of Mississippi last year and expected to be drafted this year, and he's missed 3 games. And he is Mississippi State's best offensive lineman. He is expected to go this week against Missouri. Whether he plays guard, whether he plays tackle, whether he plays right or left, that part we don't know. It's been kind of a musical chairs operation in some respects, with the offensive line. And I think that's kind of contributed to some of the pass sack numbers just because of the fact they've had to move people around. There was a stretch there. They had a different 5 starting for like 4 consecutive games. And so it's been difficult to develop some cohesion and chemistry. But getting Reese back, I think, would be very significant because when State has run the ball with authority, it's been when Albert Reese has been leading the charge.
Talking with Steve Robertson about the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Let's flip sides of the football. And you mentioned the passing game, Brennan Thompson, like Mississippi State still having no issue moving the ball through the air. I'm curious. We're all still kind of adjusting to this new era where guys that were on your team, suddenly you're playing them the next year, right? I'm curious, what was the reception when Kevin Coleman left State? I mean, is it a guy that people were angry at, or was it kind of like, yeah, we knew that was coming. He's going back home, and maybe not as mad as they would have been at some other kids.
Well, yeah, the, everybody loved KC, right? And so it was more disappointment than I would say anger or bitterness. That's, I think, the thing that you look at. People kind of understood it too. He's a St. Louis guy going home. It's not like he left us and went to LSU or went to Alabama. He was going home, and I think people kind of understood that. Kevin, of course, got a little baby now, and so we understand people make decisions. But I think Kevin made what he felt was the best decision for he and his family. So there's, of course, there's always a segment of the fan base that's going to be negative about anybody that leaves. But I think Kevin probably left under better terms than most because people kind of understood it. It wasn't like he was just chasing a bag out there. He was going back home and having an opportunity to go play at the university that he wanted to initially. Now he gets that opportunity, and we hope that he's had a fun time there. I mean, of course, there's some people on the analytical side at Mississippi State that are going to point out the portal recruits in the future. That Brennan Thompson and Anthony Evans came in and kind of picked up where KC left off, and I think he's only had one touchdown this year from Mizzou. So they'll use that, as they should. But as far as anything personal with Kevin, I don't think anybody here that of note has any resentment toward Kevin Coleman. Of course, they'll want to win the game on Saturday, but I can promise you there'll be a lot of Bulldogs that'll be seeking him out after the game to shake his hand.
Well, and obviously with Mizzou, I mean, look, anybody who's watched them the last month and especially last week knows they've had trouble throwing the football to anybody. They've got to get their run game going, and Mississippi State run defense 112th in the country, 176 yards a game. I mean, I've got to think from Jeff Lebby's point of view, this is the matchup that probably kind of determines this game, right? If they can slow down Missouri's running game, they've got to feel pretty good.
Oh, absolutely. And I think one of the things that we've kind of pointed out too is the last 2 weeks when Arkansas and Georgia have run extensively, it's been a lot of it because of the quarterback run. You have to account for the quarterback in the run game. Taylon Green, even though he was a little bit banged up, was very effective. With Gunnar Stockton, that he's, I guess, the team's third leading rusher at Georgia. I just wonder how much Missouri's going to run the quarterback, but not just because of the fact
Not much.
Yeah, he's run 9 times for negative 10 yards and can Drink afford to run him, right? I mean, you don't have any depth behind him. And so I think that's a factor in this. So if I'm Coleman Hutzler and Jeff Lebby, I'm stacking the box and I'm going to make Zollers beat me. And he may be able to do that, but I'm not just going to sit back and let him hand the football off, 75 times a game and then, coast into the winning locker room. I mean, I think if you're Mississippi State, you want to put this game on the shoulders of Zollers and make him make plays, make him be a quarterback and not just a game manager.
Yeah, if they do that, what's kind of, I mean, it's a two-pronged thing. It's pass rush and coverage, right? What's the Mississippi State pass defense look like?
Well, secondary-wise, they lead the SEC in interceptions with 11. And, Kelly Jones is a guy that was just kind of tucked away in the Mississippi Delta. Nobody really knew anything about him. And now Mel Kiper's saying he'll be the number 1 corner in the draft if he elects to come out. Now, we believe, not just selfishly, but we believe he probably needs another year. He's just a redshirt sophomore. And he was a quarterback / safety in high school. And he's really just kind of learning the nuances of the position. But he's a guy that runs a legitimate 4.3, 840. He's got a wingspan that's out of this world. And he was the number 1 rated corner in the country after 4 weeks. And everybody's like, well, they hadn't played anybody. Well, we played somebody now, and he's still turning up good numbers. So he allows those safeties, I think, to kind of creep up a little bit. And Jerron Manning's a guy that missed the second half against Georgia due to a targeting penalty. He's been a really good addition to this team. I don't think a lot of people expected him to be the guy that he is. But the pass defense has been good. The pass rush still kind of leaves a little bit to be desired. It's better than last year, not to be confused with good. But I think this week you got to do some run blitz and you got to get them in 3rd and medium or 3rd and long. I think if Mizzou has a lot of 3rd and 3s, it's going to be a long night for Mississippi State.
Yeah. Well, if Mizzou has a lot of 3rd and 8s, it's going to be a long night for Mizzou. And that's true against anybody. I think kind of universally people that, and never has a year more proven we should quit making predictions in July, right? But people that picked this league at the beginning, I think probably universally had Mississippi State somewhere 15 or 16. Come out, surprise everybody with that Arizona State game, and then I mean, they've had 3 losses by a combined 16 points. No shame in getting blown out by Georgia or A&M. How big would it be for Jeff Lebby to get one of these last 2 and get this team to a bowl game? I've got to imagine it at least kind of a year ahead of what most people would have expected.
Well, it'd be huge. And I think beginning of the year, most people thought this was like a 5-7 team, and they may still prove to be that. But there has been some progress made, and everybody kind of sees that for what it is. But to get into a bowl game this year, I mean, that's the thing you think about. If you can get a win against Mizzou, and then you have the Golden Egg next Friday or 2 Fridays from now in Starkville, you find a way to win that game and possibly, ruin Ole Miss's playoff chances. I mean, there's not a Bulldog out there that wouldn't buy that. Then you end up 7-5, going to a bowl game with a chance to get 8 wins. I don't think anybody expected that at the beginning of the year. But this is a huge game for State. Missouri is going to get State's best shot. Nobody is banking on, hey, let's go win the Egg Bowl. It's a quality Ole Miss team. So their full focus is on Missouri and trying to get bowl eligible. And I think that eases the pressure a little bit of the Egg Bowl. But, yeah, I think people are pleased when you look at the 20,000-foot picture. When you look at it week to week, you say, man, we should have beat Tennessee. And you could make the case they should have beaten Tennessee. So, oh, man, we should have beat Florida. And you can certainly make that case. They should have beat Florida. You can go all the way down the list. Texas, you got a 17-point lead in the fourth quarter, and somehow you managed to lose that game. State should already be bowl eligible. And I think one could make the case that State should probably be 8-2 right now. Now, the flip side of that is you could have lost that Arizona State game. You could have lost that Arkansas. But, the margin for error in this league is so incredibly thin. You're going to win some games like that. You're going to lose some games like that. But I think the administration feels that adequate progress has been made. I don't think Lebby is in any danger whatsoever of losing his job. And so I think you move forward now and see. And like I told people, well, we got to get one more. And we have to get at least one more, right? I think that's the way you have to look at this. You need to focus on Missouri and think, hey, this is a matchup here. It may be an ugly ball game, maybe a low-scoring game. And in that case, maybe Kamario Taylor could prove to be the difference in that game. But I think ultimately this game is going to be decided when Missouri has the football and what State's rush defense can do against them. If State can slow that down, you're not going to stop it. But if you can slow it down just enough, you got a chance to win at Como.
Last thing, you mentioned the progress in the administration, and look, for a lot of us, myself included, the coaching carousel talk is kind of dominating where things are at. I'm curious if you guys have heard Lebby's name come up at all, or if they're pretty secure in Starkville that he's back next year. Yeah, not as getting fired, but like as far as somebody else being interested.
Oh, there's always rivalry talk. You win a big ball game, and always there's always some donor out there from some other school. Well, I've heard this. I hear you can hear whatever you want to talk to enough people. But no, here's the thing, and love Jeff to death, and love everything that's kind of happening right now. But I just don't think that his profile is enough right now to move the needle with another program. I think you get to a bowl game this year and then maybe win 8 or 9 next year, then maybe you have to worry. I don't think anybody's sweating this thing out, and I do think Jeff is going to prove to be a great coach in the Southeastern Conference. He's just not there yet, and I don't think there's a job out there that's kind of above Mississippi State that's targeting him as a candidate. Now, that may change in the next year or two, but no, I think everybody here feels pretty confident Jeff Lebby's going to be back again next year.
Good deal. Well, Steve, look forward to seeing you in Columbia this weekend. Appreciate your time, man.
Always, man. You guys take care. We'll see you soon.
All right. Have a good one. That's Steve Robertson, again, from Gene's page on the 24/7 Sports Network. We remind you here every single week. One of the benefits of this network is you can read all the stuff at that site. You can go read their stories, get on their message board, see what people are saying, all that. So we encourage you to do that over at the Mississippi State 24/7 site. We obviously encourage you to participate here, both on our site and on our YouTube channel. Lots of stuff going on. Basketball on Wednesday night, depending on when you're watching this. Drew and I will be live from Mizzou Arena after Missouri, Minnesota. Cody and I live Saturday night after the game, PM in the AM, every single day during the week. So like, comment, share, subscribe, do all those things, and remind you on the way out the door, hey, one thing, $1.99 beer night at Mizzou Arena tonight. Just saying, don't know what kind of beer they're serving there, so cannot necessarily recommend them as a sponsor. However, for Saturday, can we recommend that you pick up? I don't know if you just need like a can, a big can, a 6-pack, a 12-pack. I don't know how many people are at your tailgate. Whatever it is, pick up enough Yuengling to cover everybody on Saturday afternoon. Should be a decent day. Hang out in the lots, have a couple Yuengling before the 6:45 p.m. kickoff, Missouri and Mississippi State. After that one, Cody and I will be live from Faroe Field one final time this season. Appreciate you joining us, and we'll talk to you next time.